Hello everybody, I am Trey here and this is Reactions to the Classics, and today we got a really fun one for you. We're going to be doing Michael Jackson's Off the Wall. I'm joined here by Shawn, big time Michael Jackson fan, so I knew I had to get him on to give his thoughts. You've actually listened to this album back in the day, correct?
Yeah, I think besides big time Michael Jackson fan, old would be, yes. This released when I was in the 3rd grade, and we used to have this time, kiddies, in school where we actually got to just have free time instead of on task. And shout out to my 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Luberstad, if you're listening to this, if you're still with us. She actually, we could bring our own stuff. This is the first album I own that I could remember, and we listened to Off the Wall while we played checkers. So yeah, I've got a connection to this album that goes way back.
No, that is awesome. You know, that's a simpler time, eh?
Yeah, much simpler time.
Well, before we get into our track-by-track review, I think it's good to just kind of give an overview of the album itself. So this was released August 10th of 1979. This was MJ's 5th solo album, but kind of first major one, you know.
Yeah, his dad's very controlling, wouldn't let him have any control over anything he put on his album. So this is the first one where he let Michael do what he wanted to. And Michael was 20 years old, so he should have been let.
Yeah, exactly. Michael wrote 3 of the songs on this album. The hit single Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, Working Day and Night, and Get on the Floor. To date, this thing sold over 20 million copies worldwide, which is just insane, especially since he, as you just said, made this when he was 20. And this also became the first solo artist with this album to generate 4 U.S. top 10 hits.
It's a big deal back then. 2 number ones, 2 that peaked at number 10. Yes.
And just looking at the legacy of this thing, in 2008, this was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. Rolling Stone had it at number 68 on their top 500 albums of all time, and Michael won his first Grammy for Best Male R&B Vocal Performance for Don't Stop Till You Get Enough with this. So this is definitely a heavy hitter album, very well acclaimed,
yes.
Very much earns its classic status, and so with all that being said, let's jump into it. First up, we have the lead single, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. This is, I would say, the most famous song off of this record.
Yes, I would say so. You mentioned he won his only Grammy for this, which he was actually upset about. He thought he got jobbed and made sure that he promised himself that on his next album he would win more Grammys, and that he did, but that is for another time on Thriller. Yes, first, this is a million-selling single, which just doesn't happen in the way streaming music is today. So this single itself was platinum, sold over 1 million copies.
Yeah, that's unbelievable, and I think it sets the tone for this album very well. I've actually had heard the song before I listened to the album. This was, I think, the only one I was familiar with. But I think it just sets kind of that disco vibe, that funky feel to it. You feel like you're on the dance floor, and that this would be a song that would be played in a disco club or whatnot. It's about 6.5 minutes long, and so I think that it could have shaved maybe a minute off or so, but since it's such a good refrain and chorus at the end, it didn't really bother me that much.
Yeah, I'll jump on that a little bit. Late 79, almost the end of the disco era. Not a great time to grow up around music, honestly, 77 to 79, the disco era. But the songs were designed to be longer and somewhat repetitive, so it would last longer on the dance floor in the discos. And on that repetitive note, you're right, it could have been about a minute shorter. He repeats the chorus 14 consecutive times to end this song. That could have been cut, but that was in there for the dance floor, not necessarily for your listening ears in 2018.
Yeah, that's a very good point, you know, kind of the time and place. Yeah. But we rock from that right into Rock With You, which I actually liked more than the lead single. This was one of my favorite tracks on the entire record. It still kind of keeps that that pace up, the funky type feel. I thought MJ's voice was very well on display, more so than the opener. And this is kind of the first time in the album I think you really can see his vocal range, and I thought it was one of the top tracks on the record.
Agree with you. A sneak preview to the end of the review. This is my favorite. On the album itself, and then that takes us right into Working Day and Night, which is a really interesting song because as the song evolves, Mike figures out his girlfriend, he's working really hard so he can go out with her on these fancy dates, take her on vacation, and as the song unfolds, he figures out she's got him working day and night, while she's with some other guy. So it's a very interesting song, very up-tempo, makes you want to dance even at my advanced age when I listen to it when it pops on.
No, I would totally echo everything you said there. This is one that grew on me after the first couple listens to it, and this is one of my top probably 4 tracks on the record as well. This A side I thought was very strong. Not that the B side wasn't, but the A side to this record was really unbelievable. So great instrumentation too, just all the way throughout.
Yeah.
And that gives us down to track number 4, Get on the Floor. Michael wants to dance with a girl at a dance club, and it's just another funky song. The instruments are sharp throughout, and again, his voice is highlighted, and the song just kind of flew by for me.
Yeah, same with me. I don't have a lot to add to it.
Yeah,
it's good. It's fine. You know, in the scope of the rest of the album, it's a very average song, just because a lot of the other songs really stand out. Which brings us to the title track, Off the Wall. Excellent song. It's really just about getting out there and partying and don't worry about anything. You know, it's this song was the 3rd single released. It peaked at number 10, and it's just got a nice little let's get out and dance and not worry.
Yeah, exactly. And then it kind of fades out in the outro at the end, which leads right into the B side. With Girlfriend, and I think that kind of sets the tone well, because the second half of the album's less up-tempo, and you know, has that kind of slower pace to it. And Girlfriend, written by Paul McCartney, and he has a version out that I listened to that doesn't even sound like Paul McCartney.
No, McCartney wrote it and then said, you know what, this song would be good for Michael Jackson. And then he went ahead and recorded it for his own album with Wings in '78 before this came out. And this track is funny to me because it has this arrangement musically of just this whimsical, oh, girlfriend.
Yeah, that's a good word for it.
But the lyrics are really about he's hooking up with this girl who has a boyfriend, and it's all about girlfriend. I'm going to tell your boyfriend what we're doing. Yeah, so I mean, there's a very good chance Trey Mike's about to get beat down here. And he's just singing about it all happily. So it's an odd little track.
You know, kind of almost the intoxication of love and whatnot. You know, he's almost in just like a whimsical state, like you said, but not really knowing the stuff that's about to.
There's some consequences.
The stuff that's about to get down on it. But I thought it was a good kind of differentiation from that first half of the album, and then that leads us into song number 7, which is even slower than Girlfriend. She's Out of My Life. This is where I think the piano use of this track was really great, and this is probably I think Michael's best vocal performance on the record.
Because, one of his best vocal performances ever.
Yeah, because there's not as much going on in the background, so his voice is highlighted, I think, more so than usual. Great sadness in his voice, and it's kind of a nice little outlier from the rest of the album. So.
Yeah, and I mean, on this song, you're right, there's a lot of sadness in it. This song was the 4th single, peaked at number 10. Quincy Jones is the producer of this album, said that every time Mike sung this song, he cried at the end. So he recorded it, he estimated 8 to 11 times, and he cried every single time at the end of it. So he said, well, I guess it's just meant to be. He left it there. And Mike talked about in his autobiography, Moonwalk, why this song touched him so much. And I'm just going to read it because it's kind of a touching thing. He wrote that the song is about knowing that barriers separating him from others are seemingly easy to overcome, yet they cause him to miss out on what he really desires. Particularly, it reminded him of the feeling of being, quote, so rich in experiences while being poor in moments of true joy, which shows us even though he had all the wealth and acclaim, he became the lead singer of the Jackson 5 at age 11. He records this at age 20. He described making Off the Wall as one of the most difficult periods of my life. I had very few close friends at the time and felt very isolated. And then he talks about he would walk through his neighborhood at night hoping to come across someone that didn't know who he was, so they would like him just for him. And so that kind of sets the tone not only for this, but kind of how the rest of Mike's life unfolds.
Yeah.
But an excellent, excellent vocal performance.
No, and I think that just brings up a good point to how, like, unbelievably famous he was.
Unreal.
You know, there's, you know, a rock level fame, and then there's, you know, your Elvis and MJ and Beatles level of fame that's just next level that, you know, it would be tough to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, this guy starts it at age 11, man, so he never had a childhood. He never had anything. So Yeah.
But yeah, moving on from that, we go to a song written by Stevie Wonder called "I Can't Help It." I gotta admit, the synthesizer and some instrumentation here was kind of cool, but this track was the only one really on the album that left me underwhelmed.
Yeah.
This is my least favorite track on the record, but it's not a bad song by any means. It's just kind of there for me.
Yeah, it's fine. It's, you know, it definitely has a Stevie feel to it, a late 70s, early 80s Stevie feel to it, and it's fine. Yeah, it stands out as not being great on an album that's this great, which brings us to It's the Falling in Love, which I recommended you listen to this album this past summer, and this was the song that
yeah,
really.
No, yeah, this is definitely my favorite song on the entire record by far. It's just so catchy, so just groovy. I don't know, man. It's just I would definitely recommend listen to this song for sure, even if you're not an MJ fan or you know, listening, trying to see what to listen to next. You know, everything just kind of meshed together great. You have some good brass instruments in the background, saxophone, synthesizers, electric piano. There's a ton of instruments on this, and though the lyrics are kind of simple, it doesn't matter because it's just a catchy pop, you know, dance kind of ballad thing, and I just thought it was great. And I just, as soon as I was done listening to it, I didn't even finish the album. I went back and listened to it a couple more times, which is a mark of a great song. So.
Exactly. And I don't have anything to add on that. I mean, I think you summed it up pretty well. So we bookend the album. We started with Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. Now we're going to bookend the album with Burn This Disco Down. So sandwiched in between, we got all this other great content. Now we got 2 disco songs. This song's good. I mean, it's not on the upper echelon of songs for me on this album, but it's a good song and it's a good way to bookend the album.
No, I think you you know, put that well, that it you know, it kind of comes full circle. We started off the wall with some disco, and now we're ending it with some disco. You know, and it's again a good display of MJ's voice, and I thought it was pretty bumping, pretty cool with the disco theme. So all in all, great album. So now we're gonna go to our favorite tracks. For me, it's The Fallen in Love, Rock With You, Get on the Floor, Girlfriend, and Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. Those were some highlights for me, and we already said I Can't Help It was my personal least favorite. What about you?
Yeah, my personal least favorite also was I Can't Help It. It's not a horrible song. Don't get an idea just because it's both of our least favorite. It's just that this album is really good. My favorite is Rock With You. That has been a moving target. I've listened to this album a lot recently. I hadn't listened to it in forever. It really stands the test of time. I'll go with Rock With You. Don't Stop Till You Get Enough is also awesome, and She's Out of My Life. So I mean, there's a lot of there's 10 tracks, and I could pick 6 of them as my favorite on any given day. Yeah,
no, they're just really good, consistent work, and this thing clocks at like 40 minutes, which I think is kind of the perfect realm for an album. And then going on to overall score, you know, with the score here, a reaction to the classics. You know, I've noticed recently there's a shift to where if something gets like a 6 or a 7, people think it's like garbage or whatever, whereas like 5 is the average.
Right, exactly.
So, you know, getting up to that 8, 9 range is like really solid. And all that to say, I went 9 1/4 on this out of 10, and I don't say that lightly, but I think 9 out of the 10 tracks here were hits for me. So what about you? What were you feeling on this?
I also felt a 9.25. I almost went 9.5. You know, I rate albums very tough. But this is awesome, man. As you said, 9 of the 10 songs is tremendous. It may be Mike's best work ever. And so even if you are not a big Michael Jackson fan or don't like some of his older stuff or never really even listened to him, I would suggest you start right here. Off the Wall is the perfect place to start.
Okay, and then just kind of the last little segment here, overrated, underrated, properly rated. For myself, I think this record's properly rated. It is in the Grammy Hall of Fame, and it is number 68 on the Rolling Stone. Not that their album list is the end-all be-all, but I think this gets the acclaim it deserves, and it does deserve it. What about your thoughts on that?
I'm kind of in the properly rated, maybe slightly underrated. And the reason why is because you mentioned it, it's 68 in the Rolling Stone's top 500 albums of all time, which obviously who knows how many albums have ever been made. It's tremendous, but I think it should be top 30. I think that because Thriller sold so well, it's the #1 selling album in the ever, and it is the follow-up to this, that it kind of overshadows Off the Wall. So I think Off the Wall is sneaky good and sneaky top 30, but I could deal with Properly Rated as well.
Well, that about does it from here, y'all. MJ, you did well on this album. This is a good one to start the channel off with. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give us a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so we know that we're making content that y'all enjoy, and comment below your favorite track from this record, and we will be sure to post at least one video a week. Most of the time we'll post 2, and just from a bunch of different genres, and give you a bunch of good recommendations to spin through your headphones. And that about does it from here. So happy listening, my friends, and we will see you next time.